When you are solving inequalities, it is the same thing as solving equations. You have to isolate the variable, okay? I heard somebody, one of my students that I tutor, he said, I asked him, what does it mean to isolate? He was a little sixth grader. He said, to quarantine. So you need to quarantine your variable. Welcome to 2020 math. We are quarantining our variables. So there is one catch. The only thing that is different when we are doing inequalities is that when we divide by a negative number, you must what? Flip the inequality sign. You have to flip the sign. Why? Let's talk about why. The reason is, so if I have something like 2 is less than 5, true statement, yes? Yes, 2 is less than 5, totally true. Now, if, in theory, if we were talking about equations, when we divide by one side, you have to do the other side, and it should be a true statement. So let's write it out. 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2 is less than 5 divided by negative 1 is negative 5. Negative 2 is less than negative 5. Is this true? On a number line, negative 2 is here, negative 5 is here. Negative 5 is less than negative 2. So, this is not a true statement. What would make this true? Well, what would make this true is if I flipped my sign. Instead of less than, it is greater than, and I would write negative 2 is greater than negative 5. True. So whenever you divide by a negative, or DBAN, divide by a negative, or multiply by a negative, we rarely do that, but when we divide by a negative, you have to flip the sign. Okay? DBAN, flip sign. So let's practice this. So if I have 3x minus 4 is less than 18. Same concept. I need to isolate my variable. I need to quarantine my variable. So I need to first get rid of what is not attached to the x, so the 4, minus 4. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides to make this 0, right? And so I get 3x plus 0. I'm not even going to write the plus 0. You know what? I'll write it so that we know it's there. But it's not really part of what we're doing. Plus 0 not equals. You bring the sign down like you would an equal sign. Okay? 3x is less than what? It's less than 18 plus 4, which is 22. 18 plus 4 is 22. So now I have 3x is less than 22. So what do? I divide. So I divide by what? I want to get, again, x by itself. So I'm going to divide by 3. When I divide by positive 3, I don't have to do anything. It's not a negative. I'm not dividing by a negative. So I get x, right, because this goes away. X is less than 22 over 3. This does not divide evenly, and it can't be simplified any further. So I just leave it as 22 over 3. Now, I want to know what that is approximately. What is 22 over 3? Well, I know 21 over 3 is 7, so it's 7 1/3. So when I graph it on a number line, you're going to get, I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This was 7. So I'm going to go to 7 1/3, open circle, and I'm going to go to the left because it is less than. And I'm going to label this to 22 over 3, or 7 1/3. Next problem. If I have, I'm actually going to change this to a 9. So if I have negative 3x is greater than or equal to 9, super simple, right? I'm isolating the x. So I'm going to divide, this is being multiplied, By what? -3. Here I am dividing D-band, dividing by a negative. So automatically, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this sign. Let's write this here so we know what we're doing. Color code. When I divide by a negative, I flip my sign. So instead of greater than or equal to, I'm going to change it to less than or equal to automatically. Then I can continue as I was doing before. So I have x is less than or equal to, now 9 divided by -3 is -3. Final answer, because x is now isolated, and I graph it 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Open circle on, no, closed circle, because it's less than or equal to, and it is less than, so it's going to the right. All right, and last but not least, let's do this. What happens when there are variables on both sides? Same concept. You want to bring all of the variables to one side and all of the constants to the other side. My recommendation is always get the x to the left. Okay, so I'm going to do my x's first. I'm going to bring my x's here, so I want, okay, so I added 6x to both sides. So I get 8. -4 plus 6 is +2. 6 minus 4. So plus 2x is less than or equal to -10. Then I have to bring the 8 over. It's a +8, so I'm going to subtract 8. This goes away. This went away. So I get 2x is less than or equal to -10 minus 18. I'm getting more negative, so -18. And now I have to divide by 2. And I get x is less than, I don't have to flip a sign because I'm not dividing by a negative. The denominator is positive. Equals, even though what I'm dividing by is negative, the thing I'm dividing is negative, as long as what I'm dividing by is positive, I don't have to flip. So -9. And when I graph it, it looks like, I'm not going to put all of the numbers, so let's start with -7, -8, -9, -10, and I go to 9, closed circle, and it's less than again. Probably should have put a greater than, but I didn't.